waiting for it to ping up. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Education Safeguarding Network. We've changed the format slightly so that these sessions are for both heads and DSLs, so it gives people more flexibility to go to either of the two meetings. So thanks for joining us today. Hope you settle back into schools, into term well. Got lots going on. Our agenda is just all updates, really. Lots of stuff that you need to know for the year ahead. So a smorgasbord of lots of information. We'll move straight on quickly. We've got coming up, we've got an update here on Who's Who, and you'll notice a slight change there. We've got Amy McCabe, who is the education lead in the front door now at the moment, and so there's her contact details. Dawn's still with us, but she's working on the early help team. And so if you do have any questions, in the same way that you used to call Dawn, you can now call Amy, and you can also access no-name consultations via the front door phone number as well. Next slide, please. And our new number is up there as well, 01926 74 3000, I think it was. I remembered it. And these are also updated. Normally we send this out every year, so some slight changes with Amy on there, and the same numbers there for people. We always say this is to put on your notice board by your desk. So you've got the ladder contact details, Julia Kenny, Sharon Kindred, and other people that you might find useful. And obviously we can add Ramandeep and other people onto this later on as the year goes through. Move on to the next slide then, please. So something you print out and have handy. Talking of the front door as well, front door have had a change of phone system, and we know that sometimes it can be quite difficult to get through. That's not necessarily that people are having a cup of coffee or not wanting to talk to you. It's that they have a new 5.9 phone system and makes it quite difficult sometimes for it to connect. So if you are having any difficulties, please do follow those instructions and drop them an email on try and phone, obviously, and get your concerns across by phone. If you can't get through, send the essential info on an email to triagehub@warwickshire.gov.uk, and then send your MAC while you're waiting to get through to them, and then they'll call you back. Make sure you include all the key brief history, overview, and immediate concerns, and then if no response, follow back up later. Just to mention as well that at role of the teams, I am doing more work with the Pathfinder than I was doing before, and so Heidi is covering and taking leadership when I'm absent and doing stuff on Pathfinder. So if you can't reach us, we have got our phone number now, which will ring whoever's not busy. So everybody basically is busy, but if I'm on a call, it will phone Heidi or Sophie, and one way or another you can get through to us. Okay, next slide please, Heidi. Thank you. And then I think this is just where I'm going to hand over to Heidi in a minute, but just to say the training slides, thank you to Heidi for providing all the training slides for September for your training days, your model child protection policy, and I also popped in some slides on the Pathfinder. I don't know if you saw those, but if you didn't, you'll find out about it anyway today. Hope the materials were helpful. Hope that the stuff we provided for you last year was helpful and worked well for you. We are looking for suggestions and comments, and there's a QR code and a link on there, and when you get the slides you can click on this link and education safeguarding feedback and give us some of your ideas about timings, organisation, subjects, things that you'd like to see in there. I'm going to hand over on the next slide then to Heidi to talk about the next slide, if that's okay, Heidi, please.
Lovely. Thank you, Carl. Hello, everyone. I'm Heidi Saunders. I work with Carl at Education Safeguarding, and I'm pleased to say that our September training was a great success. I hope you found it useful. And also to say, as you can see here, Carl has mentioned you will have a new updated code of conduct coming out next week in the bulletin. So please do look out for that. There's not huge changes, as we haven't had significant changes to our code of conduct this year, and the guidance hasn't changed significantly. So do be aware of that. And when it comes to the beginning of a new school year, we always think about reconfirming how those codes of conduct apply to all staff, thinking about temporary, agency, contractors and volunteers. So do make sure that you're reconfirming those structures in your organisation of effective reporting, including your yellow forms and also low-level concerns. So you should make sure that staff understand the expectations in the code of conduct, and you're constantly reinforcing that. So it's always a good time to start at the beginning of a new school year. But remember, this is ongoing through your culture of vigilance. In the whole school training, we did share with you this video we won't be playing today. However, it's a useful source of support. We recognise the important role that you all take on. You are our greatest resource, and the children in Warwickshire are safer because of all the work that you do. So please look after yourself as you go through the busy school year. Reach out to Education Support. It's a national charity that can support anybody working in education to get the best out of your relationships with colleagues, with your children, and also when you're working with parents as well. So please do reach out to Education Support. They're there to work with you, and they've got lots of useful resources online as well. Now, we will be talking a little bit later about Families First Pathfinder, and this is all informed by the changes to working together to safeguard children. You will have seen in the whole school training slides that we have a new chapter, chapter 1, focusing on the shared responsibility that we have working with children's social care, the police, health and education. And I'm pleased to say that you'll hear more later on in this presentation about the role of education in Warwickshire shaping how we safeguard children. So just be mindful, there's lots of resources out there as we move forward this next year implementing these changes. You can see that we've got our 7-minute briefings, there's useful guides online for lessons learned as well. So do regularly use the website to keep reinforcing how you are developing these changes in your setting.
Okay.
Just going to check we're all okay. If I can ask you to stay on to mute, it just helps with delivering this information. Then to reconfirm, we have a new definition of safeguarding. Now, there is a slight difference, and I just wanted to reference that. We have working together's definition of safeguarding shown here on this slide, and we also have a definition of safeguarding within keeping children safe in education. In the draft document, they were the same, but there is a slight difference now. We have the new September guidance, and keeping children safe in education does not exactly match working together. So just be confident in which of the definitions you're following, as there is a slight difference. But as you can see on the slide here, Carl has highlighted the importance of early help and supporting as soon as the problems emerge, and also focusing on that new update we've had, making sure that we're aware of the risk of not only abuse, neglect, but also exploitation, and exploitation featuring throughout those updates to the guidance. Also, Carl's highlighted there the importance of that safe and consistent care and focusing on the need for us to have a greater understanding of neglect. So we've shared with you throughout the year lots of resources, and will continue to do so as we implement the new working together. As shared both in our whole school training but also in our August briefing, we've put just another reminder for you of the changes to keeping children safe in education for this academic year, and Carl's found the useful guide for you on the key, and you don't need to have a subscription to access that, so you will be able to follow the links in this slide to find that useful information. As I said already, harm outside the home has greater focus in the updates to keeping children safe in education for this academic year. And it also links with working together. We need to think not only about the harm children face from within the family home, but also that risk of outside the home, school or college, including online. So how familiar are you with contextual safeguarding and knowing how to identify and respond to those needs? There's lots of useful resources that we share with you on our training, but also on our web pages. So do have a look at the information in the slides, and also sign up to our bulletins. If you're not receiving any information, please email Education Safeguarding to receive those useful updates. There is a wealth of information on our early help web pages as well, alongside our targeted youth colleagues. And there's this schools offer that Carl has illustrated on the slide for you. I appreciate the text is small, but the idea is we're putting all the information in one place. So you can go to these slides, you can read it through after today. So I'm not going to read from the slide. We're highlighting to you that local offer in your area. So please make sure that you do engage with targeted youth. There's lots of useful support they can provide to children 11 to 18 across Warwickshire. And again, the contact information for that team is available on this slide, so you can engage with your locality team and learn more about what is available for the children in your area. As we've mentioned throughout last year, we do advocate you using lots of resources that are available to you in sharing information with young people about exploitation, abuse and neglect. And Loudmouth is a setting in which you can access, through your setting, you can access this information. They can come out and present information to young people through theatre, sharing that information, and it's been very well received by lots of schools in Warwickshire. So if you'd like more information, you can contact them directly, or you can also find support from other schools that may have used them and be able to share some of the learning they've taken from that. And as Carl's just said, there is an offer at the moment, I believe, so do have a look at that, because it may be something you're interested in developing. So exploitation and extrafamilial harm is something we need to have a greater awareness of. And last year we did have a feature on this in May where we talked more about locality support and how you can work to safeguard children. So we provide universal knowledge through the Something's Not Right web pages, where you can access information to recognise different types of exploitation and how it impacts children, what we might see, and how do you work with a young person who may not see themselves as a victim. We also have lots of support through our Families Front Door, so you can access that consultation, as Carl's already mentioned, and also detailed on here is that support from the police as alongside Childline as well. So there's lots of routes of support, and please make sure you explore this information after this update today. Alongside the Something's Not Right website, we also have links with Barnardo's, and we had Barnardo's come along to deliver this information to you in our May briefing last year. And it's an opportunity for you to learn more about what's available from the team. Again, please do have a look back at the May briefing. If you didn't see it, or you're new to Warwickshire and you'd like access, you can contact Sophie at Education Safeguarding, and we can share those sources of the recordings with you, so you can have that information from the team. But there is a referral pathway where Barnardo's can work directly with young people impacted by exploitation. Just some final little updates from me before I hand back to Carl. Please make sure you're aware we have the new statutory guidance for supporting school attendance. Now, this guidance was out over a year ago now, and we've been working towards this point. From the 19th of August, it became statutory. So all schools need to be following this guidance and showing how they support children. There's huge focus in this guidance on the support that we provide at the earliest possible time and evidencing that support. We want to make sure that that enforcement is the final thing we come to when we've explored all other options of support. So it really is emphasising the link between early help and identifying early needs around attendance. So please consider how you are implementing this, and also remember the Warwickshire Attendance Service has lots of additional support and guidance on our web pages. They've shared with you lots of the Department for Education webinars on how to implement this. So if you need any further guidance, again, please email us and we can put you in touch with that team. There's lots and lots of useful support for you in finding a way to drive this forwards. Now, it was a very challenging time over the summer as many of us watched with great sadness the incidents in Southport. And over the summer, then you as leaders and staff within school may have been feeling concerned about how to have conversations with young people as they return to school. So highlighted here is lots of information. And once again, please don't feel overwhelmed by the content. It's here for your reference. So it's a good source of support that's come from the government here, so you can look at how to talk to children, but also at the top of the slide, Carl's added Jeff's information, our prevent officer, to be able to offer you that Warwickshire perspective as well. So do look at this information following today and do have a look at the further support Jeff can provide following that prevent duty. Carl, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely right. There will be an update to prevent, won't there? And there'll be some training for us and probably an update for schools. I just remind schools as well, if we go on to the next slide, Heidi, I'm happy to take it from here. Thank you. That's also, there's a link here to also preparing for those unfortunate situations where you need a lockdown. So tying into those, the riots and those type of events and harm in that sense and radicalization, but also it ties in on this second slide, which you haven't had before, further ideas about preparing for lockdown and those sort of eventualities, which you hope you won't ever need. So preparedness there is there, and it's important to at least once a year to talk to staff and practice and think about what you might do in those unfortunate situations. So again, as Heidi says, that's a referencing. There's lots and lots of information there for you to look at when it's convenient. Thank you, Heidi. We'll go on to the next one. I'm going to welcome two guests to speak with us now, or to join us, and we'll speak to them as we go through. Ramandeep Sandhu, who's a service manager for Warwickshire Safeguarding Children, and Ramandeep's just joined the team from another part of the county, but she'll tell you about that. And Abby Baker, the Development Officer for Quality and Impact Assurance and Development. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Carl. Really appreciate it.
And I've added on the new logo as well for the Children's Partnership as well onto there. So we're going to go through, we're going to talk a little bit about Pathfinder. And if you're happy to chip in if you feel you want to as we go along, and then there'll be some time for you to talk about your roles maybe at the end of this section. Are you happy with that? Is that okay?
Of course. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Carl.
Brilliant. Okay, feel free to chip in on the chat if there's anything you want to add, Abby. So we'll go on to the next slide then, please. And you will have started to hear, Families First for Children, initially called Pathfinder, but Families First for Children, Pathfinder, sometimes FFCP. And this is an update. You will have had some information in your training for September. You may or may not have looked at it. And I just want to say, I'm apologising if you've heard or seen some of this before, but not everybody goes to every meeting, and so I'm conscious that some of those slides were sent out to schools. Whether or not the head teacher shared them in your training in September, I don't know. Whether or not the link worked, I don't know. So what we're doing is trying to overlay the information so that we don't have any gaps in knowledge, because we don't want anybody to feel that they don't know what's going on. So we'd really love everybody in every school, every college and setting in Warwickshire to know a little bit about what's going on with Pathfinder or Families First. So it goes back to somebody called Josh McAllister and a report that he created in 2023 called Stable Homes Built on Love. And so Josh McAllister was a teacher. I believe he might have been a head teacher, and he's also now an MP. He's done this work and now gone on to be elected as an MP in the last election. But this was all set in motion before that. And it sets out a strategy to transform early help and children's social care. Warwickshire has been successful in becoming one of the Pathfinders in Wave 2, and it's aimed to improve the services for children and their families to stay safe and have loving homes and protect the most vulnerable children from harm. So we'll go on to the next slide, if that's okay. Now, it's very difficult. So I worked in education, now work in sort of social care, but this, I don't know what the equivalent is, maybe the introduction to the national curriculum in education, I'm not quite sure. But this opportunity, this thing, Pathfinder, is a huge thing really in terms of changing social care. It's kind of a once in a generation thing where the systems are re-evaluated and looked at, and things are moved around to put them in the best places to get the best outcomes. So this quote from Josh McAllister: the moment's a once in a generation opportunity to reset children's social care. We need a system that provides intensive help to families in crisis. It acts decisively to respond to abuse, unlocks the potential of the family network to raise children, and puts lifelong loving relationships at the heart of care system and lays the foundations for a good life for those who've been in care. So obviously particularly affecting those children in care. Kinship relationships, priority of keeping children with family members wherever possible, and improving the system for the benefit of children, families, and the education system and everyone else who works in local government to make this work. And as you can see here, you may or may not have been aware of this, but education wasn't always a partner officially in this process. So we now have health, police, the county council, children's services, children and families, and education. And over the next year, we are gradually working closer and closer with education. My role is to be that bridge between Leah's team, Johnny's team in education, and John Coleman's team, and other partners such as police and health, working together to try and join up all of the systems so that children don't fall through the gaps, and so that you guys get the best service possible from the people we've got in place. So maybe a lot of changes for people, but these are the key areas. And again, I'm not going to go through them word by word. I'm just going to try and do a quick summary. So stronger multi-agency partnership. So everybody, like it says in the policy, working together is what it says on the tin. Everybody joined up, trying to make our systems gel and work together, thinking about the outcomes, linking into education. So how do outcomes in education link to outcomes for our most vulnerable children, linking in with health, and then working together to make sure all the systems ensure clear leadership, accountability, coordination. And then the lead safeguarding partner is a new part. So a head teacher, and perhaps Ramandeep or Abby can tell us a bit about that in a moment or afterwards. So we're now looking for an education leader to fit into the system, to have that accountability and to have oversight of how things are going from an education point of view, a mouthpiece, of a spokesperson. Number two, multi-agency teams. So looking at the children and families front door on a bigger scale and how our agencies all work together and join up the systems. And the changes there to family help is a lead role that's been created to help within the family help team. So rather than early help, it's called family help. And it's about having the right person that has the best relationship with the family for the longest time, rather than changing from one professional to another. You've got that continuity. If a family in the past may have gone from early help to child in need to child protection, back to child in need, back to early help, you have that continuity of that linked person with the family and holding together all that information with the professionals. And you only need one assessment. So rather than in the past having an early help and then having to do a child and families assessment, so you contact front door and then they pass that to initial response, do a child and family assessment, then it goes to strengthening families. All of that will be structured into one assessment to save time and to make the system run more smoothly. Multi-agency child protection team. So as I mentioned, building on really what happens in the front door, but increasing that capacity, expanding that into 3 teams: Warwick, the existing one in Saltisford, Nuneaton and Leamington Justice Centres, expanding those teams with focused locality teams, but working together with social workers, the police, health, refuge, all those other partners, attendants, potentially SEND and all sorts of other people to join up. And when you make these phone calls to front door, you've got all of that signposting and navigation support to help you get to the right people. I'm going to move on to number 4, and this is about providing a funding structure to help some of the most vulnerable families and get the right support to the right people. And there is a significant amount of money being made available through this process that wasn't there before to support some of the most vulnerable families that perhaps would have gone into care to actually stay together, to be with other members of their family, to remain in sibling groups, and to get the right support to just provide that security for them, rather than splitting up children and siblings into different parts of the country, keeping them in their localities, in their local schools, and with their relatives. I'll move on to the next slide. And it may be that Ramandeep or Abby can add anything to that and improve on my description. So in short, what will you see as colleagues in education? Hopefully you'll see one assessment making the system better, quicker, more effective, engaging education roles into multi-agency teams, better working together, strengthen processes in the front door, moving into the multi-agency teams, a wider network for improved financial support for families, and then better opportunities for head teachers, DSLs, people involved in safeguarding in schools, to feel that you are working as an equal partner with the police and social care and having your voice listened to. So having that greater role, greater voice, representation, and having the vision as well, and contributing to the vision of where we're going with this. So on to the next slide, please. Going through at a pace. I'm just going to mention a slight illustration here. So John Coleman, who's our director, does a blog periodically. And so in this blog, he's talking about the benefits of brothers and sisters, and the focus, if you like, of keeping brothers and sisters together in sibling groups, so that they get greater benefits and security of that process. And that's that's an example of how the Pathfinder will try and keep families together and keep those relationships so they're more stable, they're able to arrive at school to be happy and more confident, and are less likely to, the system to fail them, basically, so that will work better for them. Next slide, please. These are all the different partners that are involved in the process, and we've mentioned Youth Justice, but there's many other partners, including Fire and Rescue, that are partners in our meetings that we have about reviewing our systems. And we want to raise awareness of safeguarding within the organisation, the wider community, and disseminating learning and information through all of these different partners, so the same sorts of information across to everybody. And then we'll be linking into the Warwickshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership in a minute, and perhaps Ramandeep can tell us a bit about that. But quality assurance is an important part of that process as well. So when you say something's not working in the system, that somebody's listening and looking at that and reviewing it and improving it. Next slide, please, Heidi. Thank you. So again, what will you see? Clearer opportunities to be involved in a scrutiny of the processes for safeguarding, a greater role and voice, and education will play a pivotal role, not a backseat role, but actually be front and centre with the vision. And then the lead safeguarding partner will be a head teacher, and a delegated safeguarding partner will be the education. So what you'll have is the operational delivery of safeguarding, and the partners that will deliver it, and then you'll have the scrutiny. The head teacher will be the lead safeguarding partner, will have scrutiny over what is happening and how well it's being delivered, and challenging or supporting where that's needed. Next slide, please. Very complicated diagram, but effectively what I'm trying to illustrate here is on the right hand side, you see where the lead safeguarding partner fits, and there's a chief executive for Warwickshire. There's the chief constable, chief executive for the health team, and then the head teacher will fit in that role on the right hand side in the green box. And they will then go into the grey section, which will be the education safeguarding group. It used to be called education subgroup, so some of you may be familiar with that. So it's equivalent to that, but in a new model where we will engage with education and schools and settings and colleges to be part of that process of reviewing and scrutinising how safeguarding works. So on to the next slide, please. We'll talk about that more in a moment. This is an example of all the different people. So these are the delegated safeguarding partners who are responsible for the delivery. And then on the next slide, it goes on to the lead safeguarding partners who are responsible for scrutinising the system and how well it works. So for police, local authority and health, and then we have an education represented an education representative to be elected or to be put forward as a lead safeguarding partner for not a large amount of time. I think 3 meetings a year, 3 to 4 meetings a year, to have this executive role, if you like, of seeing how things are going, getting feedback from schools, from partners, and then having that responsibility of the checks and balances to see how well safeguarding is delivered. I'll move on to the next slide, and I'll give Ramandeep and Abby a chance to talk. Maybe on this point might be a good one in a minute. So are you interested? If you used to take part in the old education subgroup and are interested in being involved in this process as a representative, there's a sign-up form there. You can nominate yourself to become part of that wider safeguarding group. And if you would like to put your name forward to be the lead safeguarding partner, there's a Microsoft form there as well. Obviously, you don't have to just throw yourself into this, on the spur of the moment. You can talk to other people, and there'll be a slide in a minute with contact details who can tell you more. But this information is there as and when, if you want to sign up. Next slide, please. A quick time scale to get an idea of all of these things, and Heidi mentioned at the beginning there's a lot to take in, and there is a lot to take in for everyone. The process has been going on for a while already, and we are in the autumn term now, where we're starting to appoint people and put some of the different 4 pillars in place. So you can see multi-agency child protection for November, family help teams January. A lot of this information is going to change a lot of the stuff that Heidi trains you on over time, and so what there will be in the spring next year is an update conference which will help clarify what's changed as a result of Pathfinder, and anything in your training that needs to be updated will be made clear at that point. So it'll be a free conference where we can tell you all about the changes. So anything about making referrals to the front door, for family help, anything to do with all of that process. So don't worry. I know it's quite worrying to have lots of change, but it is being managed over time, and then there will be updates from us, and then there'll be a major update after Christmas. Next slide, please, Heidi. I'll come to the end of my spiel for a little while. Here's the information that you can get more if you want to know more from Families First Bulletin, and then there's contact details for me and for Ramandeep. So perhaps at that point is a good time to perhaps go on to the next slide and then just see if you've got any questions, or if Ramandeep perhaps first and Abby want to make any comments. Can I hand over to you guys?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Thank you so much for that. I guess what I would like to say is, in line with working together, the partnership has separated from adults and children. So I will be the service manager for the children's partnership. So what we're doing, as Carl's spoken at this moment in time, trying to ensure that we've got a good transition between adults and children's. There was some communication sent out to partners to say, and the children's partnership is now separate. So I'm working alongside Amrita Sharma, who you might have met before or heard from before, just to try and ensure. Oh, sorry, there's some echo. Is someone talking? Sorry. Apologies. Amrita Sharma, I'm just working closely with Amrita just to ensure that we've got good transition. Essentially, my role as a partnership manager, whilst I sit within the local authority, it's separate in the sense that I work alongside the partnership, and my role is to support the partnership to ensure that the partnership arrangements are robust and meeting the needs and the priorities that we've set up. So I will work closely with the chair of the safeguarding partnership, the lead safeguarding partners, as well as the chairs of the subgroups that Carl referenced on the on a slide as well. And also my role would be responsible for ensuring that we meet the statutory responsibilities in line with Working Together 2023. I also run the business unit, who are responsible for coordinating child safeguarding practice reviews, and that's where yourselves may have been in contact with the business unit before, as well as training, etc. and also to coordinate the learning as a result of any local safeguarding practice review, and also our work regionally as well as locally to ensure that our partnership is robust, and if there's any more development work to do, then I pick that up. As Carl mentioned, we are looking for education to be more sort of represented within the partnership. So, really keen if anyone's interested to have a chat around that role. But I guess some of the anxieties that I want to try and alleviate is that I know, colleagues might be worried about capacity, and I think that's a conversation I'm more than happy to support. Especially, as a board manager, my role would be to ensure that we've got agenda, relevant things planned. But so some of those anxieties around capacity will hopefully alleviate. So yeah, I'll bring Abby in just in case anything else I've missed.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ramandeep. Yes, so just to say, I've popped into the chat just 2 MS forms. So one would be just popping in sort of a contact form to be part of our education safeguarding group. We're really keen for this education safeguarding group to have full representation from our education colleagues, not only across all of the district and boroughs of Warwickshire, so our 5 localities, but also across all education settings, just to ensure that we're really creating impact with the voice of our education providers, and ensuring that all of your different perspectives are heard across safeguarding practices to improve outcomes. And then secondly, just that MS form in there for the lead safeguarding partner. So if anyone does have interest, obviously part of the new multi-agency safeguarding arrangements and our new Warwickshire Safeguarding Children partnership is to work to establish education as that fourth safeguarding partner, and just to understand the impact and the equal sort of responsibility that education does have with safeguarding our young people. And so having an education representative for that lead safeguarding partner with our other senior figures across the 3 agencies in health, police and children's services is crucial for us. So finding that passionate individual who does want to have that big impact, as Carl said, in setting that strategic vision and priorities for safeguarding across the county, we're really keen to discuss further with anyone interested. So if anyone is, please feel free to fill out that form or contact Ramandeep or Carl to discuss further, and we'd be really happy to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that Ramandeep and Abby have got to go to another meeting at the end of this. We'd normally ask them to stay on for any questions, but if you do have any questions that you want to pop in the chat, perhaps they can answer them as we go along with the other slides. Is that okay?
Yeah.
This is just an introduction, guys. I know it's probably a bit overwhelming and lots of new stuff, but it's the start of the process, and it's okay to ask questions, and there's no wrong questions. Please do ask. Put any chat in the partnership, put any comments in the chat, and we'll come back to you. And if we need to do an FAQ or something like that, there'll be bulletins as well that Abby does. We can answer those questions. So thanks ever so much for joining us today. I'm going to move on and into a similar subject that's slightly connected, but I thank you both for that. We're going to the, well, we're already on the slide. So connected to, anybody would think it was planned, connected to that representation of DSLs in Warwickshire and how their voice is heard. You may or may not know, I imagine you've heard of the Leamington DSL cluster with Pete Hawkins and his colleagues in that area that have really successfully been working together to have half-termly meetings and inviting people in from the different services such as police, early help, social services, and lots of other people. And it's been really positive because they all get involved and they feel like it's done with them, by them, for them, and not top down by somebody else. So, this is a layer on your local level, secondary schools, working with primary schools, special schools, and other providers, have face-to-face meetings once a half term, and they all get to know each other and share really useful resources at your own level. And I'd really like to promote this model going forward and encourage people, DSLs or head teachers, to get involved. We will be rolling this idea out across the county, and this may be kind of a stepping stone to, building up intelligence about your local areas. Thank you, Heidi. We already have consortiums that you know, but we couldn't have that many groups for safeguarding because people wouldn't come to that many groups. So on to the next slide, we're looking at having 10 groups across the county, and I'm working with Pete and Sam Godfrey and other people to develop these at the moment, to have 10 groups which cover the 5 main districts. So it's relatively local. You get to know your local schools. You talk about similar useful subjects which are helpful to you. So the most important things for me as a DSL were knowing who the local contact for the police, the school nurse, the contacting SEND, contacting attendance, and having all that information of useful phone numbers, useful names, and actually being able to speak to people, sharing good ideas. I know that in many small schools, you're very isolated, and I really want to try and improve that situation by having locality groups with people who are local experts and working together with the bigger picture for the county as well. So there'll be more to follow on that. We'll move on to the next slide. Thank you. So I know Catherine's with us. So Catherine, feel free to put your camera on and say hello if you're with us. Catherine Winton is
Hi.
your contact. Hello, welcome. Catherine Winton's your contact. We haven't got a lot of time, unfortunately, Catherine, but I have shared
that's fine.
all this info. And Catherine's our lead for RSHE at Compass. And there's links on the screen there, and you'll get the slides of how to register for the local meetings and when the meetings are, and all of that information. Catherine, do you want to just give us a whistle-stop tour of there's this slide and the next slide with when the meetings are as well?
Well, they start tomorrow night for the secondary, and then they're over the next 3 weeks all across the county. I think the most important thing this year is, due to feedback from last year, we've launched, or we will be launching at the meetings, a website which will be password protected for any members, and there will be things like policies that you can just download, lessons that you can download, and just a really great tool to save your PSHE leads a considerable amount of work, hopefully.
That sounds fabulous. We could have the next slide, please, Heidi. That would be amazing. There's the groups. I know it's a bit small for you to read, but you will get all of this. And I've also put it on the heads up as well and talked about it at heads briefing. There's lots of opportunities. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. I don't know how you did that. It's brilliant. Lots of opportunities to find out more. We'd encourage you to have somebody in your school that is that specialist on harmful sexual behaviours, an RSHE or PSHE person, however you do it, it's up to you, but really to have that expertise, that person that's the expert for your school. And RSHE does, curriculum wise, link into the safeguarding of harmful sexual behaviours, which can be really challenging for schools to manage. And so having that link between the education part and then the responsive part is really useful. So please do have a look at that. Please do try and go along or find out more so that somebody in your school is represented. That would be amazing. How many people did you say you'd got in attendance, Catherine?
So far there's 136 schools that have signed up and that attended last year, but I know I spoke to somebody yesterday with the new form, and I think there's another 14 signed up this September.
That's
so
brilliant.
It's just a growing network.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, and thanks for coming. So any questions for Catherine, pop them in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to just mention the theme, and I've mentioned this if you were on the heads briefing earlier, I've mentioned it. I think we'd like to really just refocus, if possible, on domestic abuse, because we know that Ofsted will be focusing on, Ofsted do something called a JTI, a joint inspection of local authorities, and we don't know as and when those happen, but one of the focuses this year will be on domestic abuse, and we'd like all of you guys in schools to be fully prepared and know as much as you need to know about domestic abuse. Unfortunately, we do see, you may not see that personally, day-to-day stuff, but an incredible amount does happen in schools and in your communities, and it's really important that you are fully aware, fully prepared. Again, just a reminder about Operation Encompass, because you may be a new head teacher, you may have changed roles. We have Operation Encompass available, which is the alert system, where you give us 2 emails of staff in your school, and you get an email alerting you to an incident that's been attended by the police. So you use that form to register for that. So if it's the first time you've signed up, you use these logins to go onto there. Could you just go back 1 second so I can just mention the 4 of them, Heidi, if you don't mind? It's Operation Missing from Home has a different one. Thank you. Operation Guarding is if there's a police incident investigating pupil-generated pornography or child-generated pornography. So if they take photographs off your website and change them and adapt them to something sexual, that's where that one sends you an alert as well. And Mandy Buswell is the point of contact. Thanks, Heidi. If you have already signed up for that, then all you need to do is use this form to change the details of, say, your head teacher's moved schools or your DSL's changed. If you've already submitted all that information, you've signed a disclaimer and everything else, then all you need to do is update the police, and they hold this data, not us. So it's no good sending it to Sophie or to us. You have to send it to the police because they're the data holder. Okay, so if you have just changed, if you're a new head or the head's changed or the DSL's changed or the 2 main people, please do make sure that you're getting the right emails and just get in contact using those emails. And all of this will be in the PowerPoint and the bulletin that will come later in the month. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, on that theme of domestic abuse, just to remind you, and it's better than my commentary, 1 in 5 adults will experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and we don't always assume that will be females. Males experience domestic abuse as well, and it's an incredible amount. 1,444,225 domestic incidents reported to police annually. So very scary statistics, and children are often present. So that impact is not just happening at home, it's having an impact in school. There's training available through our training schedule, and you can see an example there on the screen. You will get all the training links and everything else if you want to sign up. And I know that the feedback from domestic abuse is really phenomenal, isn't it, Heidi? You've got a lot of people saying that's one of the best training things they've been on. And the thing I attend, unfortunately, I attend domestic homicide reviews, which are when an adult has died as a result of potential domestic abuse, and it does factor in many cases that the school may not have seized every opportunity to offer support to the families, whether male or female parents, about advice on domestic abuse. So please do try and get that onto websites, onto newsletters, and signpost it as much as you can. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. Again, this is normally Sophie's bit in the training, but don't worry, I'll do it, Sophie. Normally, Sophie, if you're doing the training with Heidi, Sophie will stand up and say, do you know about MARACS, and that you can refer a person, an adult, a parent, to MARAC, which is a different form to a MAC form. It's a referral to get advice and support and build a team around a victim of domestic, a person who is perceived to be or maybe at risk of domestic abuse. Okay, and you don't talk directly to them, you just make that referral, and a team is set up around that, and Sophie manages the paperwork and arranges the meetings for those MARACs. It's an area that maybe not everybody is fully aware of, and it's an area that can be really supportive and preventative without having to have quite difficult conversations. And the whole point is that you don't have to have that conversation. You don't do it, you have that meeting around the family. Next slide, please, Heidi. Thank you.
Can I just come in there, Carl, very briefly?
Of course you can.
I just want to make sure there's no confusion here, because I just want to make sure we're clear. So the information that comes to schools from Sophie is not the form shown here on the slide. The information that comes to schools from Sophie at Education Safeguarding is to find information about those people that will be discussed in the multi-agency risk assessment conference. So Sophie will email you to ask you to share information. You as a school do not attend that meeting, and you won't be part of that meeting because they are victim focused meetings, and you will only hear back if there are actions for you as a setting. And we know that can be frustrating for you, but the purpose of that meeting is we're considering the highest levels of vulnerability for that survivor victim. victim, they may not know they're even being discussed at that meeting. And if the person perpetrating that abusive behaviour was to discover this discussion, it could put them at an incredibly high risk. And we need to be really mindful of that. So shown here on the slide is your opportunity. If you have a concern, you can yourself as a setting refer somebody to the Multi-Agency Risk Assessment Conference, MARAC. They used to take place every month. They now take place 3 times a week. So it gives you an idea of the numbers of families we're discussing, and we do focus on that victim survivor. So your information is really key, but I know that it can be frustrating not to hear back. So please come along if you'd like more information about MARAC, about how work with refuge. Do come along to the training that Carl mentioned on the previous slide. We look at how to recognise abusive behaviour. We look at coercive controlling behaviour that you may have seen recently in the news has been highlighted once again. And we also talk about the impact of abuse on children and families. So we've had lots of really positive feedback, and we do discuss MARAC in more detail in that training. So please do come along. Thank you, Carl. Shall I continue, Heidi, for the...
Please do. Yep. If you wish, thank you.
Okay. So some final reminders from us as we conclude today. Please remember the support around transitions. We shared with you at the end of last year Anna Freud's work about mentally healthy schools, how we recognise children may struggle with transitions. They might have been excited those first few days into a new term. They might have been ready with that new pencil case, but maybe work and other things that are the reality of school have now started to challenge their feelings towards school and that transition into that new phase of education. We also know that children with additional learning needs may find it difficult to express in those early days of building new relationships, their likes, their dislikes, and how they can be supported. So please consider the information we shared at the end of last year to continue to develop your support around these transitions, and we wish you every success in this year ahead. As we think about transitions, it is incredibly important that there is no delay to information sharing. So when we consider the date today, it's important all schools have now shared that information. You had 5 school days to do so. From the moment the child was registered in your setting, you should have received that information. And this isn't Warwickshire. This is the guidance keeping children safe in education. And you can see there on the slide, Carl has taken those 2 points to illustrate how important it is that we share information. You should receive this information separate from the child's main file. And you should also be speaking to the person that has shared the information with you to follow up on any gaps or check in on the support that's been provided. How did the family engage? Learning things about the family. Are they a family that need a text message before there's a phone call so they feel safe in that communication? Things you knew about this family as a school need to transition with them into the new school so that we can effectively safeguard children. So please consider how you're following the guidance. And we know at this time of year as well, many of you will contact us to say, we haven't had the information from the school. Please, can you help us? So we're here to help and guide. We've got that central phone number. You can share that information with us. And Carl's just popped that reminder there about the census. Anything you want to mention, Carl? Oh, just unmute yourself, Carl, and then we'll hear.
Sorry, that would help. Yeah, just to mention, most as they're starting school, many children starting in a new setting, don't forget about the census. It usually approaches faster than you realise. It's only on the 3rd of October, so it's not far away. So please do start the process with your admin staff and class teachers of identifying children who may be eligible for free school meals pupil premium, and get those most vulnerable pupils getting the support and the funding that is needed. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Carl. So some final reminders from us. You've taken in huge amounts of information, and we really do thank you for your time. And we still have the majority of people with us, so thank you, and we will conclude on time. Reminder from us, Kooth has a wealth of information. Their newsletter has just been released as well, and we've got lots of support for young people and adults as well. So we'll leave the information on the slide for you to read after today. There's also the NSPCC support available, Speak Out, Stay Safe, looking to provide that free safeguarding programme for children 5 to 11 in our school settings. And as I mentioned earlier, you've got Loudmouth as well that can support schools. So lots and lots of useful information on the slides for you to reflect on after today. As always, we're going to share with you our integrated training offer. So myself, Sophie and Carl put together a training package, and we continue to develop that, informed by the changes for Families First Pathfinder. So to get your local offer, to understand more about how to safeguard children in Warwickshire, we do encourage you to join us for these training opportunities. We also supplement the training with these regular bulletins and updates as well. So please do maintain your awareness of all the different offers that we have and engage with us. Another reminder as we conclude is our parent and relationship courses and support that's available across our locality. And many of you are aware of our helpline that parents can engage with, you can engage with. So the family support line is there for same day support 9 till 4. You can also email the parent trainers as well. And it's really important that we don't prescribe courses to families. We don't see a situation and we as professionals tell a parent this is what you should do, because the success in these parenting courses comes from within the family themselves, recognizing the need and then taking the steps to join in with those support agencies. So if you'd like to speak to somebody about the workshops, about the parenting programme, to help you have those conversations with the family and help them make those decisions, then please do email the parent trainers or speak to the family support worker helpline, because there's lots of useful information there. And we do want to also encourage you to attend your early help meetings. I think never before has it been more important for you to attend Network's meetings with us. As Carl said, the Families First Pathfinder is going to make such significant changes to Warwickshire in the best interests of children, building on the success of what we've already achieved. So please come along to the Early Help Networks. I've heard today that you will hear directly from the Families First team. They will be attending those network meetings to talk to you about what early help will look like going forward, how we're going to work with you to make sure we get that early intervention support to our families. So please do look out at the second page of the Early Help web pages. You will find the link, but Carl's also added it to the slides for you. So today we had our first early help of this year, and we have still got more time for you to engage in the current early help training. We will adapt that training as the changes come in. So please do also consider our DSL training. We have both the new to role and the DSL update training. We've offered more Brook dates to you this year. So Brook is our traffic light tool. That is a charity that runs across the whole country and gives us a greater understanding of those sexualised harmful behaviours, recognising what's developmentally appropriate, but also where we need to take effective action to safeguard children. And then, as we've already said, domestic abuse. So do make sure that you look out for those dates and contact Education Safeguarding. The booking form is within the training flyer, so do have a look on the Safeguarding website. I believe I'm handing back to you now, Carl, to finish us off.
Microphone. So you are. Thank you, Heidi. Nearly there, guys. Thank you for staying with us. And we've just got 2 minutes left to just remind you of all that information that we've just downloaded onto your brains to take care of yourselves. There's a lot of information, and nobody said safeguarding was easy. It's a tough job and a really important job, and you know that. That's why you're here. But there are things that you can do to look after yourselves. There's sessions from CPOMs on well-being. There's also the one one that Heidi's mentioned earlier from Education Support. We will be looking at signposting to you supervision as the year goes on, and on the slide there you can see the safeguarding update session that's available from the Safeguarding Network. Safeguarding Network also offer supervision as well. That's something we'll be talking a bit more about and signposting to you. We can't be everywhere and do everything, but we can signpost people to you that can support you with those processes. And don't forget, when you do phone us and have a conversation, that is supervision as well. So please do look after yourselves. These are themes that are national themes over the year ahead. So you may wish to look at that and build them into your school planners, some of which we've mentioned or will mention in a minute: Youth Mental Health Day and various other things, Hate Crime Week that we do every year. So please be aware of those. And then the next slide, please. In the link, I've just put the CPOMS link. It's not a very nice look to look at, but I'm afraid it is what it is. Young Minds is coming up. I keep getting this through my Facebook feed, and I thought I'd share it with you in case you haven't. But signing up for Hello Yellow for Young Minds is an opportunity for you to talk about mental health in school, coming up in October. So you've still got time to sign up and get the resources and consider how you want to do that. In next sessions, we've got another version of this session if you've got colleagues who couldn't make it, on the 26th of September, 8 till 9 a.m. And then again in October, different sessions, and November. And then the link there again that's the same link, one Teams link to Education Safeguarding briefing updates now. It's the same link every time. So if you haven't got it next time, it's the same one as today. Please do use our phone number, contact us, talk to us, and to tell us how we're doing. And on 16:30, we're just coming to the end on schedule. There's the QR code as well, or you can use the feedback link at the bottom. Any ideas, any thoughts, compliments, criticisms, whatever, you let us know, please. And any more slides left, Heidi? Thank you very much for giving up an hour of your life for this session. Thank you to our guest speakers, to Abby, to Ramandeep, to Catherine. Thank you to Heidi and Sophie, and for you guys to being here. We'll stay on the line if you want to put your cameras on and have a chat. I know that Abby and Ramandeep have got to shoot off to another meeting, but please do stay on if you want to talk to us about any general safeguarding stuff rather than individual specific children. Thanks.